I'm officially welcoming everyone to this year's annual AGM, annual general meeting of the Smiling One Foundation. I feel very, very honored that you today have taken your time, invested your time and your energy to be here to celebrate alongside our foundation a phenomenal year of journeys, of change, of courage. Also, a year that has been a big reset year for us at the Smiling One Foundation. It's not been an easy year, but it is in those times that you really get closer to who you truly are. So I love that we both have the mindset and the toolkit and the skills to navigate whatever life brings to us, and that we are able to truly listen. So this report today and this meeting today is really all about learning deeply, listening to the year, what it is trying to teach us. So I welcome each one of you. And I would love for us to start with a round of introductions. So here we are. So who would like to start introducing themselves? Manuela, why don't you kick off to make an introduction? Who you are, what is your connection to Smiling One, and what moves you about the Smiling One change experience?
Thank you, Karina. So I am dialing in from the UK. I am the co-owner of the British Association of Anger Management. I met you guys through Paulie with a wonderful invitation to an AGM such as today. I met all your fantastic people, and it was Theo who I suppose he tore my heart wide open. I'll never forget that introduction, Theo, for as long as I live. And it was that moment really that encapsulated the work that you do for me. It was just something about the kind of cross-cultural, how that all fell away and the humanity was just sitting around the table. And I think about your work often, and I think I mentioned this on Thursday, didn't I, where fundamentally I feel like when you listen to the change agents' life stories and their processes and what they've been through in their lives, and then how they've progressed in their lives and to do the work that you do in the world, your stories just are so powerful, and fundamentally they speak to me of making the impossible possible. And it's like if anyone had any doubt in their own lives that change was not possible, they would just have to listen to your stories. And it's so powerful. And for me, that just is a message that's universal. And I think that's particularly unique about Smiling One, that you have access to, well, in your words, to these deserts. And like you said, Theo, you never realized you could plant a seed in concrete. I mean, it says it all right. And so each year, is this my fourth year? I don't even know. I think my third or fourth year. But each year, I'm even more impressed and even more committed and even more moved. And it's part of my commitment to hang out with really good people. Like you said, Theo, you got to make those choices. And so the choice for me is to hang out with really good people. Work and yeah, it has not been an easy year, but you certainly have been living the material, and for me that's very authentic and congruent and necessary and important.
Yeah. Thank you for that, Manuela. And also just for everybody, and welcome to Carl and Lucia. If you're comfortable, you're welcome to turn on your screens. Right now we are in a round of introduction. here at our AGM, so we know who is with us, and also get to know a little bit deeper the relationship each participant has to Smiling One. And Manuela, you serve on the board, and I actually think it's more than that, because I think you joined when we had the meeting in Tokai, right? And that was before the pandemic. So it must be the 5th year or 6th year. So, but time flies when you're having fun. Thank you so much, and welcome to you, Manuela. Paul, would you like to go next? I'm just taking who is on my screen. And just unmute yourself.
Absolutely, my love. So very exciting to be here. I met Smiling One in 2009 at a dinner party when a patient invited Karina and myself and some other friends to get together. Dennis at his house. I heard about Smiling One, and then was invited to play at a benefit concert in 2012, and then began really to dig a little bit deeper into what the organization provides, really men who've been left in the desert, as Karina says, left alone, and how Smiling One goes to fetch the men who are interested in hearing the call. My own background, of course, is in medicine, in surgery, but I've been deeply interested in the makings of men, the path, the journey, spent many years in leadership, about 14 with Mankind Project, facilitated, led, co-facilitated thousands of men into the process of mission and purpose and emotional literacy. So when I sort of took sabbatical and then finally left the project in 2012, it was to move into the field of sexual consciousness, sexual awareness, and the predicament that our journey as men leads us into the distractive nature of sex and beautiful nature of sex and sexuality, but how it intersects and confuses our journey around mission and purpose in the world. And really my work now and my book is really all about how to intertwine and partner mission and purpose with awakened sex and sexuality for men, and particularly heterosexual couples. So the Smiling One work, and certainly in meeting Franklin and Theo, and seeing how you two men have taken the fruits of Smiling One and share with your communities, is another step in my deeper understanding, as Manzi said, of what is possible with regards to change, and how, as Theo said, planting a seed in concrete can yield beautiful roots and beautiful leaves and trees to go out into the community and fetch other people, particularly men, who have no guidance and no measure of possibility to get back to themselves. So the constitution, the foundation of this work feels like somehow reaching into the future when I see how a lot of the beauty of this work falls on deaf ears in society. It feels like so many brilliant ideas, Nikola Tesla, for example, in the early 1900s, so many good ideas have to find their root in society many, many years before it begins to flourish. And I think the idea of working with men who've gone into incarceration on much deeper levels, and also looking at the idea of punishment versus re-education as another way of doing things. It almost feels like our school systems are outdated, but also our incarceration systems are outdated. And Smiling One is really at the forefront of providing a different way of meeting men who've made decisions that could have been made better and giving a second and third chance. So I'm really excited to catch up on what the year has brought. I know you're going to be also speaking into the 6-year project, my love, at the school, RAVENSMEAD, which is another phenomenal reaching to have men that are identified and relatable to young people who are preoccupied with silly cat videos on their cell phones, and to offer them really substanceful, meaty self-growth opportunities. So I think that's another brilliant piece of the Smiling One design. But the two put together, the incarcerated mind as well as the young mind, married, has to be one of the profound models that mankind can use to move forward with confidence as we sort of work with both the chaos and the beauty of this world. So I'm checking in and also honoring you deeply, my love. I know the work that this requires from you, and also putting this report back together. I know firsthand what that has asked of you, and just to deeply honor you for bringing the work to the world and constantly showing up. And you beautiful people too.
Thank you. Thank you.
Much love.
Appreciate. Franklin, would you like to share who you are and your connection to Smiling One and what moves you deeply about the Smiling One experience? Welcome, Lucia. Nice to see you.
So hi everybody. Franklin, Smiling One Change Agent. Where do I start? I think that at first I was under the understanding that the responsible individual or the program itself was a sense of power. It was a whole misunderstanding from my side. I saw one of the chains and the coaches inside of prison, and he just hold a sense of power. And at that time, I didn't understood the light and how people can be drawn to it, because why, it wasn't power at all. His humility was just beyond measurement, man. He at that time, I thought he was a cool, he was cool, he was charming, he was caring. It was just a different type of person in such a high violence, dark environment. And yeah, this person hold the light, not just within him, he had a tool. And it came in the form of the responsible individual, the Smiling One program. And I was just drawn to it because I wanted that. I wanted what he had. And going through that process, I think that I found my individual stride. I was more captured by the fact that inside of prison we can speak about feelings, because for most of us, shutting off that side of you seems to work best inside of prison. Not to feel a lot, not to be too caring towards another person, just be on your lonesome island, not to involve much emotions. And you come to Smiling One, and it is safe to open up that door. It is safe to open up that part of you. And that was my first stride as I continued on the journey along with Smiling One. I think one of the most fascinating things that I did was I didn't, through all of the things me and my dad has been through, I didn't seek his validation or his forgiveness or his love or his affection. I didn't seek that anymore, because what Smiling One opened up my mind to the aspects of ownership. And as much of a kind of dad that he was, I realized that I was not a good son. You know, I was very rebellious. I was just someone not to be proud of as a son, you know, and coming to him and asking his forgiveness before seeking or wanting anything from him made such a huge difference in my life that it opened me up to more of Smiling One. And I think along that way, along that road, I discovered more men, especially, that was seeking that same validation, that was looking to fill that void, that had issues with their parents, with their dad, with their mothers. And it just is a complete misunderstanding from you as an individual. Because for the ownership aspect, I think that that's one of the things that I still live by to in this world. I always seek to find myself in my steps, my actions, my words. And I think there's not a lot of that out there, because a lot of blame get put on society, on our environment, on other people. And Smiling One really connected dots for me in that sense, that not so much to what is going on around me, or not so much about what's going on in my family, in my friends, in society's life, what's going on in my life. And looking externally, yeah, you can change a lot of stuff, and it's a lot of effort, and sometimes you get just tired, you get just drained by emotionally drained, fatigue. Oh, I don't even want to mention the other words. But Smiling One showed me how to look inside of myself, you know, and that is probably one of the aspects that has been keeping me conscious, keeping me awake in this world. And I love it, because I could have been at a much worse place. And especially when you come from the darkness and you realize how what impact you had, what impact is still out there, what actions of young men, of our society, of our leaders, of our family members, you realize that you came from a place of darkness, and you're in a better space now. And I always try to tell those that I met, I'm not a type of person who denies challenges and wants the all good and all precious and all shiny life. I understood with the aspects of Smiling One, that you have to just hang on, Mason. I'm gonna talk to you now. um, you have to embrace the challenges in life. You have to embrace those moments when you are vulnerable, those moments when you want to be held, those moments when you want to be motivated and inspired. And it's okay to be that side, to be like that, because that's part of being human, and that's parts that live inside of you. And treat it kind, treat it gentle, and make sure that you say the light and wherever you go. So yeah.
Thank you, Franklin. And Franklin, I mean, our partnership started in 2009 when you, as you said, you chose to explore Smiling One or the responsible individual, even if you first thought, I'm going to use it as a power tool, you know. But of course, that's what the journey does to us. We're not quite sure actually where it's going to take us in the beginning, but just to have the courage to take the leap and be curious and willing and open-minded to explore something. Franklin is also on our board of trustees and is the chairperson of our change agent committee. And it's an honor to work with this beautiful man, and has been a great teacher for me. So I really appreciate that. So on my screen, you are to my left. To the right is another beautiful man who I've worked with as well since 2009, who I also met in prison. Now, you will be able to see on the screen his name, Luyanda. Just so you don't get confused, is that Luyanda introduced himself to me as Theo in 2009. So you will hear me addressing him as Theo. You also, Manuela, addressed him as Theo, but just so there's no confusion, Luyanda Msutwana, nickname Theo. So Theo, why don't you tell us a little bit about who you are, your experience with Smiling One, how it moves you, your heart, your life?
Mornings, everyone. My name is Luyanda Msutwana. I'm a change agent. Smiling One, your Smiling One. What a platform! What a magic! What a magic! I've met with Smiling One at the lowest of my life. You know, it was in correctional center in Brandfley. I thought my life was over. You know, but yeah, I've seen the guys. You know, who they like to go outside and make cycling, you know, they share, you know, and then I was curious, but at first for me it was just to get out of the room, you know, to enjoy the sun, but not knowing that it was, you know, more than to enjoy the sun. It was something as we men, we hate to share. And I've never understood the importance of sharing, you know. And I think that's the one that leads me to open up a little bit, because whenever I'm around the cycle of change, the man shares painful experiences. They share things that they can't even share with their own families, you know. So an old person, a man who has a family outside, he will crack down and cry for all the tears. It was like, because remember, in prison you don't show how you feel. You don't cry, because once you cry, most of us back then were having a perception that if you cry, you are weak, you know, not knowing that when you cry, you heal, because we have different wounds, you know. So for me, Smiling One, it takes me from 2009 up until I get trust, because of that was the important part for me, you know, because it's not easy to share with people that you don't know, you know. And but the cycle has allowed me to trust, myself first, and to care less what the next person will say with the sorrows that I had, because I've learned that a man, if you are a person, I used to have sort of, I would say, sort of a philosophy that says, inxeba lendoda lihlekwa. You can't love another man's wood because it might be you tomorrow. So Smiling One has taken me deeper, where I thought, oh no, this I can't I can't continue with this. But as we go further with the sessions, values, there is one that I kept in my heart. It was the name that I've come across with. It was affirmation. Affirmation. Wow. That name I'm still embracing, I'm still holding. I cherish that name because of it's the name that I've been using since then, because of I was trying all these years, hence I was going in and out in prison. But by the time I've met the cycle of change, that name changed everything, because I was still trying, thinking, I don't know how, like, to transform my life, how I'm going to change. I was so scared because I knew in future I will be released, and then 99% chances of coming back in prison was huge. But due to that name, affirmation, and I've learned the definition of the affirmation, and when I understood what it means, the affirmation it's whereby I've told myself I'm done with crime. I'm done, irrespective of I'm still in correctional center, but it was the day that I've made the decision. So that's how powerful a Smiling One is. Even outside, like where I am, my community, people, those who are far from me, they always witness, Theo, there is something, but we don't know what is it, but there is something about you. And those that I'm close to them, I shared, because of sharing is caring. Sharing, I came from, is sharing from the cycle of change. So it's much easier for me, to share, because of I don't have a fear, not anymore, to share, because of there are those also who are thirsty for a transformation. They don't know how. So I can relate easy to them, dear. But Smiling One, dear. And what I love about Smiling One the most, it deals with our inner, because of people today, they're sick. They're sick. They are going in and out, doctor, because for reality, if you can't be in charge, if you can't take ownership, if you can't be responsible, then it's easier to make a blame game, government, etc., etc. That is why there is too much violence in our society, because of people, they don't understand themselves. So if you don't understand yourself, then how are you going to understand the next person? So Smiling One has made a huge difference in my life. my kids, they can enjoy to hang around, to their father. And oh, Karina, Smiling One has made wonders, because I'm where I'm at today because of this beautiful program. And although there will be some time that I'll be absent, but Smiling One has never been absent in my life. I breathe Smiling One each and every day. I'm taking I'm taking out my head, Karina, because of your courage. I've been in different programs. I've been attending different programs, but I've never come across with a program that shakes me my what do you call it? That shakes me everything, my thoughts, dear, my conscience, because now I don't have to be like, it's like, my dear, it's, those who know me, some of them, they will perceive, like Theo has become, but the one that knows me, they embrace the change, dear, because it's like, dear, I don't know, it's like I become a celebrity. They want to be in my cycle, and I'm grateful, dear. I'm grateful because they know my journey, they know where I came from, but it's just that I don't get some of them enough time, because of whenever that I engage with them, it's a part of a session, because what I will talk about it will be the knowledge that I have received from Smiling One. So it's this journey, dear. It's been just imagine, dear. Now it's 2025. I was released in 2027. I mean, sorry, in 2017, and there are those who went back to prison, and I don't blame them. It's just that they've never come across with such a powerful. This is the warrior, dear. Smiling One is the greatest. Smiling One is the greatest.
I really appreciate, and I think it's also for those who don't know Theo, who don't know Franklin, who don't know Smiling One, that Smiling One is it's not just a program. Something happens to you, and that's, something happens to you, and it becomes like a brotherhood, sister, like a family, because it's not just brothers, like I'm a sister, but it's a deep connection, and that creates a movement where we are so committed because of what it's done for us, the way it's moved our hearts, our lives. And that's what I hear when I listen both to you and when I listen to Franklin. And of course, that's also what we bring into the spaces we journey into. We bring our heart and our soul. We are not just facilitating a program. We facilitate an experience, a movement that is going to shake them, like you were saying, and shake them in such a way that all those old things are going to fall apart. So we begin to feel that there's something else in us that we have forgotten about. And that's what as I listen to both of you, and it moves me deeply, So before I go on, I just want everybody to introduce themselves. So welcome also to you, Kyle. Welcome to Lucia, to our AGM here at the Smiling One Foundation. Our AGMs is very untraditional. We always take time to just share and connect, because it is all about connection and going on a journey together as we want to present this beautiful year we've just had. Beautiful, difficult, stormy, and transformational, and all the different, if you can imagine it, it was in there. So it's been an amazing year. So Lucia, can I give the word to you, just to introduce yourself? Also, how do you know about Smiling One, and why did you choose to come today? And thank you for being here.
It's a pleasure. Thank you, Karina. So I met Karina at a speaking course, public speaking course, and I run women's networking events. And then Karina came to one of my events, and I think I'm completely drawn to you, Karina, because for me, I look at people's hearts, and I think you have the most beautiful heart. And for me, that is important. Like you were just saying, it's your heart and soul in what you do. And I think, and also the prison ministry is really about having deep compassion. And what a beautiful gift, a gift of love and compassion. And so I think I'm drawn to your program and what you do because of you, because of the person that you are and what you give. So I'm was quite excited to find out more. I don't know much about Smiling One. I have, looked at Facebook and see what you do and saw what you do. And I just think what you do is really amazing, how you touch people's lives. And Karina has also spoken at some of my events, and I always get feedback of people telling me, who is that woman? So a very powerful and influential woman, and somebody leading with your heart. And for me, that is the most valuable gift that you can give to somebody. So I'm excited to hear about what Smiling One does. And when you mentioned the RAVENSMEAD school, my heart fluttered because I was actually born in Ravensmead and grew up there for my first 10 years of my life. And then we moved to Balha. So, so Ravensmead is a big part of my heart. So, thank you for inviting me. And I feel honored to be here today.
Oh, thank you. That's so precious. And thank you for witnessing and for receiving and for being open to meet this experience and to meet the energy that flows through us. And as I can hear, invite you into, just to absorb what can be done when we work together, when we put our hearts, our minds, our souls all together. And I'm really excited because we are celebrating our 6-year impact case study as well at Ravensmead High School. And I look forward to hear how that also sits with you as somebody who's spent some years and grown up in the community in your first 10 years. So thank you for making the time, Lucia. I really appreciate that. Thank you. And welcome to you, Kyle. Would you like to share who you are? And also, I know it's quite a new connection to me, to Smiling One, and also what moves you in being here today.
Sure, thank you. I've spent the last 30 minutes trying to get Zoom to work on my computer, so I'm very happy it's come to life just in time. But it's lovely to be here, and thanks, Karina. I don't yet have such a long, rich, and an in-depth relationship and experience with Smiling One. Karina and I, and Franklin, for that fact, met, I think, 4 weeks ago now, somewhere around that time, walking and talking up Lion's Head as part of the Walgreens Walk networking group, I guess. And during that morning, And Karina obviously told me all about her work with Smiling One. I was straddling, not the right word, but I was eavesdropping on a conversation Karina was having with another member called Paul. And as they kind of slowly stopped talking, I kind of took my opportunity to run in and and hijack the conversation, because I work in development, community-based development, etc. So Karina told me all about Smiling One, and I told her all about the work that I'm doing. So for the last 10 years, I have been focused on expanding access to health and youth services in communities, both here, locally and globally. And so, yeah, I think just the work that Smiling One is doing, resonated a lot with me, and the work that I've been involved in. I recognize the value in inner development, for outer change, particularly within communities, and in the benefit of creating a community to affect that change. So yeah, I think that's my connection, and as I said, looking forward to learning more about the work and where it's going.
Thank you. I really appreciate it, Kyle. And also you invited me to the Bertha Center to a workshop there. And I think it's very much part, 2024, we call it our reset year, is an invitation to think in different ways, to expand ourselves, really to connect. It's very easy, not that we want to silo ourselves, but we get really invested into our projects because we're so passionate. But we do have to learn from each other, especially when it comes to scaling, expanding our organization, many different ways of working and doing community, and gifting community. So I really appreciated that, and I love that, and I know and I appreciate your mind and your thoughts and what you've learned and all that you've gathered from your work already. And I think we are only richer for knowing you, Kyle, really. So thank you for making the time to learn a little bit more about the work that we do. Thank you. Appreciate it. Nathalie, would you like to introduce yourself? Can we see you?
Yes. Can you see me?
Yes.
Hi, everyone. I am Nathalie. A lot of you do know me. I am Karina's daughter, and it's been a really wonderful thing to witness this entire Smiling One process and how it developed when we first moved here in 2006, and just seeing how it's developed over the years, and also with the prison work and the development of the change agents. I still remember when I used to come with my mom to prison and hang out with the inmates and try to teach them Danish. And for me, I've always been really inspired by their commitment to change, and also coming from such a background and then being able to funnel that into something so beautiful and something so relatable in environments that are particularly challenging. I'm really inspired by these men, and also by my mom, of course, and her commitment to helping the world in such a way. I think it's a really, really beautiful thing to have witnessed firsthand, like front row seats. So yeah, I'm excited to hear about what the progress has been this year. And yeah, I'm just really happy to be here. And thanks for having me.
Thank you, Nathalie. And Nathalie, she does help us with our admin and bookkeeping work. So also doing her part in the foundation, and that's big, because there are many things. We have many hats in the Smiling One Foundation, and especially when you're still quite small. So even if we've been going for 18 years, We are still quite small, of course, because funding has been a challenge. So even within the family realms, we see, so where can we help? Where can we make sure that we cover all the bases? Because one thing that, and you're going to see that as well, governance, good governance is front and center in all we do. You can ask the team. We drive process and strict policies like a business. So we run the foundation like it was a business. And that's very important to understand, because also when you want to achieve things and help your clients into what we call optimal performance for me and we, and that's quite an important thing. And I'm going to explain that a little bit later, what it means. But if you do not have close connection to what a journey looks like, and you keep close to the connection, and you have a structure that helps you follow the process and the journey and the connection throughout, you're not going to achieve the same outcomes. So I'm Karina. I am the founder of Smiling One. And it's interesting with the word, the founder, right? I feel like it found me, just to play on the word. So grew up in Denmark and came here in 2006 with my two beautiful children. And you're going to see one of the maps in our theory of change, where on one side you have the desert, on the other side you have this flourishing growth space. So when I arrived in South Africa, my inner world looked a lot like the desert. And it felt like I had been traveling, well, for 34 years through the desert. And I had not yet at that stage really touched the deeper layers in myself. I felt rudderless, and that I was drifting in time and space. So South Africa, coming here and really being introduced to a culture that was so different from the world I came from and from what I knew, it almost felt like somebody was bringing life back into me. And of course, it was scary in the beginning because, you don't know what you don't know. And being such a master in survival and really versed and adept in the desert, because we're very good at survival when we walk through the desert, I still had to learn what it meant. And the prison work, which I came to because I was busy writing my first book. So in those first few years, I finished my first book, The Responsible Individual. And while I still had it in writing, I went to a business breakfast, also networking. So as an entrepreneur, networking from day one. At that first networking meeting I went to was a social worker from Brunfley Maximum Prison. And he was speaking about the prison project, where I was talking about my book in writing and my leadership concepts and my new business that I started in South Africa. And he invited me to come to the prison. And like faith would have it, and everything in my world, things all connect, that a week later, I was actually having a management training that I had been hired for, just 10 minutes outside the same prison. I mean, beautifully connect. So as I went to the prison and met this group of inmates, 16 men, I was sharing about the responsible individual in the making the book. You've heard about the program you've heard about from Franklin and from Luyanda. And I committed to say, yes, I'm going to gift you 1 year of my time, not every day, but once a week. I'm going to come to the prison. I also had a little group of women in training with me as coaches in the method, in the responsible individual method. And I'm going to bring this program to you. I mean, little did I know when I made this commitment that I was about to give myself the greatest gift. Because that's the way transformation works, and it's the way we work in Smiling One, is that you get moved deeply and it's going to change you forever. And I remember in 2008, when one of the inmates in Brunfley Maximum asked me, so Karina, have you ever harmed someone? And I'd actually never, I realized, been honest about, I'd never told anybody about my inner desert. I'd never invited anybody into my journey. I was masterful at painting pretty pictures. So for the first time, I was having a deeply honest conversation about that, yes, I am angry when nobody's watching. Only my kids really get to see the angry side of me. And that became really the beginning of my own transformational journey of addressing the inner desert, of really looking at what is it that I need to shift? What are the spaces in me that are calling for healing? And it's really important in the work we do at Smiling One that if you have not done your own inner work, you cannot let anybody else leave their desert, because you don't know what it is. What we do is not a red thing. It's something we've experienced deeply in our own experience. And that's also why our facilitation team are all coming from our projects, because those are the best people to journey with others, to help them look at their deserts, because we meet them. We meet our clients in the deserts to help them take the bold move and explore what it could look like to move into a broader spectrum. And that's what Smiling One, the foundation, these men, thousands of journeys have gifted me with the last 18 years. And so it's deeply personal to me. And I feel deeply called. And it's beyond choice for me, because, if I could go in and do this work inside prisons every day, I would do it. Because those are my brothers in change. They help save my life. And I say it every time we start a new process in prison, every time we have a new enrollment. I'm there, I'll show you my scars, you show me yours. So it becomes, we're travel companions to our beneficiaries. And as we celebrate this year, and I welcome you to this beautiful experience of 2024, Reset Year, Reset 2024, I hope that you'll be moved and that you really take time not just to look at the numbers. So how many people did you have, like in the classroom, how many hours did you work, but that you feel the impact. And recently, and I write it in my foreword in the report, we recently opened a school project at Elswood, and the vice principal, Mrs. Hanslow, who excuses herself today, they had a meeting and it was a bit short notice for them. It's a very new project. But when we asked her, Franklin and I, we asked her, so how do you measure impact? And she was responding that certainly, one always looks at pass rates, correct, but she's been at the school for 1.5 years, and she says, this is such a tough environment, and so many of the youth are used to that they are being let down, that people don't stick around. They're used to being abandoned, so they've lost trust in the world around them. We're failing them as adults. So for her, the progress is to earn that trust, to earn their respect, to get into their hearts. And that's how she wants to look at herself and say, how am I doing in this project? And I love that because it's so aligned with what we do at Smiling One. So of course there's a combination, because we are obsessed about good governance. We do, of course, have our metrics and we do have our outputs. We're very clear on how many and when, and we have a very structured approach. But we do look deeply when we measure progress. We have to look deeply into what does it mean to move out of the desert, and what does the desert look like for our clients? Because even if we have a framework, and we spent 18 years refining our framework, so we're very adept in it, but we apply, and I also said it to Franklin when we started our Elswood project again, and we spoke about it. As much as we have a lot of expertise in our field, we go in with a beginner's mind. And it's like that with every new client, every new project. It's like, I'm going to experience you for the first time, and you're going to show me how your desert looks like, so we can help the individual and the culture shift. And we hope to be able to also showcase that to you through our impact case studies at RAVENSMEAD. And the Elswood project is not being showcased in this report, other than Franklin is going to, of course, share. But our financial year ended February 2025. So it runs from March 2024 to February 2025, and that's what we're presenting today. So welcome to all of you to our experience. I also just want to start with some apologies here at our AGM. So we did invite the management team from our new project. It was a little bit too short notice, so they have apologized for not being able to be here today. The same with the prison management. They always work very odd hours, so they're also here in heart. And we hope one day that we are able to, of course, bring them to one of our AGMs, but we, of course, understand. Then Anya, you're going to meet Anya through the report. She was quite impactful in the first year of our RAVENSMEAD projects. She's also sending her apologies. Same is Vivian. So Vivian was part of Smiling One in the very early founding days of the project. She also sends her apologies today. Also, as per process and for an AGM, when it comes to our previous AGM, I just want to bring your attention, and I'm going to share my screen now. If you are curious about the previous annual report, it is on our YouTube channel. And there will also be the minutes in here, and you'll see we're very thorough. So you'll be able to actually go back and visit and be able to experience that AGM as well, just so that you're aware of that. Okay, so we're going to set off into the journey. This is the front page. So normally I do speak a little bit more during this time because I'm the one presenting, but I'm going to call on voices from my team as we venture through this annual report. But one of the things, I mean, nature is big for us here at Smiling One, and I chose this picture because when we think about reaching our potential and unlocking potential, that's one of the things that are front and center here at Smiling One. So as we look into these beautiful journeys of change and what we've achieved this year, this is what we're aiming for. But of course, we also know that even if we have a recipe, as I said, and we're very adept in our recipe, every person has a unique way of unlocking their beautiful potential. And that's why it's important for us to harness our skills in really listening to what is it that this one client, this one project needs from us. You will have access to this annual report as well. You will all get a copy of it. And I'm not going to read every single part of it, but I do want to start with our mission, which is what becomes our North Star in what we do, because we're here to support those most vulnerable in our society. And we equip them with tools and leadership skills to grab opportunity and lead lives that impact positively. Today, we're going to show you a snapshot just so that you immediately can get a sense and feel of what is it that we do at Smiling One. If we should take to show 8 ways of what we do so that you kind of get the framework immediately. I also would like to show you our theory of change that guides how we run projects. So we really understand the bigger picture of what we want to achieve. And it's, of course, something we researched for many, many years, where we've honed our recipes and have learned from our projects. And also from then understanding the bigger picture, that we break it down into small pieces and activities. It's important for us because, as I said, we've had a really challenging year financially, funding-wise. And we want to show our funders and potential funders that we know exactly how to run a project. And there was one thing when I created this beautiful report, and even as I've created reports in previous years, we are really good at running projects for nothing. And Carl, I'm sure it's something we spoke about on the mountain as well, you know, how important it is both to run it as a business, but also to be paid so that we can ensure the sustainability of the foundation. But very often the NPO sector in South Africa is being paid very poorly. And it's one of the things that we want to break through. It's a ceiling we want to break through. So with that in mind, as much as we can run projects at very low cost, tight budget, we want to be able to scale and bring what we do to thousands more people, both locally and globally. So today you're going to see our 6 years impact case study from RAVENSMEAD High School, where we are celebrating the shift we help support out of the desert into a growth space, into a growth mentality. We also want to share with you our vision, and Franklin's going to speak about our vision as well, and kind of our first steps into the Elswood High School area and that area in Elsie's River, and what it means to bring projects into high-risk areas. We're also this year going to conclude our project resource guide that we're going to share a little bit more about. It is all our learnings. It's a roadmap on how to run projects. And it comes from our 18 years experience in the field. And we look forward to end of this year to be able to gift that. And we'll launch it, publish it, and gift it to other organizations. We also want to, of course, take you into our prison projects. Now, this time, normally I always start with the prison project in our annual reports. This time around, I've chosen to do it the opposite way because as we go through the school case study, it's again, I want you to think about that these projects are led and run by men who have been rehabilitated, by the relatable adult, by somebody who deeply connects to and understands what it means to grow up in a community like a lot of our youth grows up in. And that's why we've chosen to position it like that this time around. We, of course, also want to, in our prison project, just look beyond 2025 and beyond. And then we're going to go into our financial report and also how to get involved and help us, how you can contribute, collaborate, help us with ideas, help us expand so we can take big, bold steps into the next chapter of our journey here at Smiling One. So these are our eight ways. And just to feel, if you just look at this safe spaces, humanity, responsibility, mind shifts, role models, gender-based violence, mature decision-making, value-based leadership. So this is just a snapshot of some of the big themes that run through all we do. So I'm just going to give you a moment just to sit with that. And one that I really want to highlight here, it's again the conscious individual that leads with love and who asks, do I harm or do I build? And how can I rebuild? And this is an ongoing conversation when we leave the desert, because when we live in the desert, we don't think about that we harm, but we do harm very much ourselves. I certainly was caught in my cycles. Maybe they weren't as detrimental to those around me, like if we look at the inmates, but they were, and it could have gotten much worse if I hadn't gotten the help that I got through my brothers in change. I want us to think about the role models, and that's a big theme. And you've met Theo, you've met Franklin, who lead with that change and with the impact they've had, how Smiling One has given them tools and leadership skills to lead lives that impact positively. And there's again this mind shift, and this is really, really important, because when we go into environments, and you're going to see that at RAVENSMEAD as well, it's not that we go in and now we're going to fix your environment. No, we're going to go in and we're going to journey with you, and we're going to help you and equip you so you can help grow your environment. So we have to shift into a mindset where we break free of victimhood. It's very easy to blame, and you said it too, Theo, that we don't point outwardly, but that we actually stand in full ownership, and we realize it starts with me, and I'm not what happened to me. I am who I choose to become. So it's one of the big first shifts in all we do is the enrollment, that our beneficiaries step out of victimhood and into the apprenticeship, as we call it. So this is the first snapshot into our annual report. You'll be able to read my forward in your own time. I want to highlight what Manuela said. So at the bottom here in the lime color, Smiling One makes what seems impossible suddenly possible. MV is Manuela Viana. And I think that's really important. And maybe, Manuela, if you can just chip in there and just expand a little bit on what that actually means for somebody who doesn't know what you're talking about.
Oh, thank you, Karina. I think for me, what that means is there's when you hear the change agents speak from where they speak from, there's like an emotional resonance that happens where I feel, we can all identify with places inside of us, of ourselves that feel impossible. It's a desert. It's never going to change. Whether that's a sense of neglect or abandonment or deep hurt or whatever you feel you've been through, when you hear it coming from the change agents, it has an emotional traction that I don't think I've ever really experienced so powerfully before. And I've sat in many, circles, but there's a rawness and an authenticity that holds such power when it comes from the change agents. And I think that when they walk in an education environment with that gravitas, there's like an energetic exchange that happens without saying a word. And that's what I mean about, what what a young person might think, what have you got to offer me? It's like, oh, here comes another one,
Yeah.
It's a different conversation starts to happen almost immediately because, like you refer to, there's a relatable adult that Theo and Franklin have been there. They don't need to learn, where those young people have been. They've been there, and that's what I mean. It's like that recognition that, oh my God, you've been there, and look where you are now, and this is what's possible.
Beautiful, absolutely. And those are the bridges or the doors, because we always feel into, so we need to find the door into the person, into the environment. We got to earn their trust, earn our right to be their travel companion. And it does for many who do not have those tools and skills or have trained in these environments like we've done for such a long time, it can look totally impossible to be able to make that connection. I also make the point, we do it later when we think about how many fail in running school projects. And it's something one of the sponsors that we some years back got funding from, and it said so many school projects they've had in their portfolio have not succeeded. And it is because it felt impossible to connect into the environment. But what really differentiates us is the change agent. And it is that we have a very particular way of facilitating deep processes to find that door. It's something we facilitate and train in, but it's also a deeply authentic journey that if you're willing to open your heart in the middle of a process and not just be some odd facilitator, but you're a travel companion. I have scars too. Here's my desert, so it becomes, oh, you too, because that's what I experienced in prison as well. It doesn't take long for me to get into the car of life. So we share that we have something in common when we journey together. And that's really important when we look at the shifts here. So right here, the shifts we help facilitate are the bold steps out of the me space, which is a guarded space, into a we-centered, nourished space. But very often, most don't have that experience that there is a we nourished space. So like, what does that look like? So also as I introduce and welcome you, we work on those levels because it's not enough just to work with the me and help them with the tools and skills. But if there's a desert still around them, we need to help shape the culture that all these me's that have better tools starts to collaborate and create this growth space. And that's really what we do. So we work on the micro level, the individual, and the macro level to help shift the culture so that we can exactly, what seems impossible, that we actually make it possible. So for me, it's also wonderful and it's a privilege to guide an organization with this special capacity and skill. And we always say we go where most don't dare go, because we go into environments that are really tough. And I also try and move forward, because we had a conversation as a board a few days ago that maybe people don't understand what we actually do, what kind of environments we move in. And that's important. That context is really important. And I really want to make that context clear so we understand the impact. Because if we don't understand the context, we won't understand what the impact means. And the courage it takes to create those prison breaks out of the desert, out of a mental, guarded, super protected survival space. So that's what we are inviting you to, both you who are joining us today, but also those who's going to listen in and tune into the recording of this AGM. Because so many people are overlooked in our society. They're lost, as I say here, on the fringes of the human experience. We have a tendency as a society to just, we don't really want to look at people in prison. Or we don't want, it's easy to look away. And of course, it's also very overwhelming. But that's one of our big drives at Smiling One, is also to provide this kind of education. And we want to also provide it through our project resource guide that we're writing this year, so that there are more tools, more skills, more conversations about how actually to facilitate these processes. Because we're not doing too well as adults, as a society, because a lot of our youth are getting lost. Let's venture into the theory of change. And again, we spend a lot of time in workshop as a team to really clarify our messaging. Because again, when we're very clear on why we do things, how we do things, what we do, it becomes a clear roadmap for us on how to drive the change process. So a theory of change is all about how we intend to make impact and drive our change, and what we believe in, that it's important to tackle the issues that cause harm in our society. Because, as I said, the future of our children is really at great risk. And there is something, as we experience, we know that we can bridge those gaps. Now, here's the picture from the desert into a growth space that we help facilitate. And when we talk about critical issues, or what I want to highlight here in this map, is of course not what you see on the surface. When we talk critical issues, we don't want to apply a reaction-based strategy to just fix surface. Hey, so very often, and we see it also in the new school environment that we are busy integrating into, how everything is very reaction-based. You see it in society. Police is a reaction-based strategy, even if the long-term goal is to address roots of crime. Well, we have to understand, what is it? What is it that causes these issues in our society? And that is where we need to listen deep. That's been a huge study for us over the last many years, to really get into what happens at the core, the disengagement that happens at the core, and how also that causes our youth to disengage, not participate in their development, in their growth, in opportunity, in education opportunity. So very often we'll see it in an environment that I'm not even interested in what is provided for me. They're not taking part. And that's also in school environments what teachers are dealing with. They're not able to teach their classrooms because the youth are somewhere else. They are caught in survival. So that's what we're looking at when we go into schools, when we go in communities, when we go into prisons, of course. I mean, that's a given. Prison, that might be easier, relatable. Well, that makes sense. But all of this happens everywhere around us, and not just in high-risk communities. If we all look in our own lives, if I looked at me, I was in the desert too when I came to South Africa. So the shift that we help facilitate, so we understand that in order for us to get into a growth mentality and into value-based leadership, to really embrace values, we need to go to the core of the issues and listen deeply. And you would have heard both Franklin and Theo talk about the road inward, the inner development, to sit with themselves, to be in these circles of change where we have these conversations about how it feels to be us and to live in these spaces, these desert-like spaces, because that is what blocks our development and our ability to actually step into a more thriving new reality. So this is what we want to also showcase. I'm just giving you a picture here of our theory of change. We've workshopped a lot, of course, and I want us to start on the left side. And it's, again, we understand who we are. We know we are a trusted partner in shifting inner spaces. So those are the deep inner spaces, and the outer spaces is like the environment that is now a product, a reflection of what goes on inside of us. And we unlock the potential of both the individual and the culture. We start at the top to really look at, so what is it that we want to achieve? The ultimate outcome. When we look at crime diversion, prevention, social cohesion, we really would love to spark opportunities for our clients, leadership roles, career opportunities. When we look at the educational environment, to actually inspire a more holistical approach to education that helps both students and teachers reach full potential so they can grow into our future leaders, and that we have a space, a growth space where absolutely the possibilities are endless. And also that, and this is this lift that I'm talking about, that a learning environment would exemplify genuine care for its learners. And so when we have facilitated this inner lift, it's also going to reflect outwardly. It's not going to look like a desert anymore outwardly. So Manuela, if I can call upon your help again, just to get more voices in. So if you look at the theory of change from activities, because now we're breaking it down into the tiny bits, just reading in the gray area what it is we do that starts by our activities, what it results in, leads to, and what that ultimately affects.
Smiling One brings extensive experience and a proven method in guiding change in challenged environments, hand in hand with our clients, who Karina refers to as the stakeholders. I love that term. We instill a culture of support and care. This results in an optimal performance approach tailored to our clients' unique needs, helping them with tools and skills to transform challenges into growth opportunities. The outcomes leads to active involvement from the stakeholders. Their actions are now based on new benchmarks. So values-based leaderships, holistic education and safe spaces, safe adults for the young people. Leads to accelerated efforts towards sustainable practices. Our clients are now in a stronger position to drive their growth. The impact is ultimately our clients transform their deserts into a growth space, providing safe and supporting environments. Fact is, well-being ignites people and their performances.
Beautiful. So the way we're going to showcase our activities is really through the impact case studies. That I'm not going to read all of this. You're welcome to, as you get the annual report, just sit with it if you want to dive a little bit deeper into it. It is what directs us. It's really important, again, for us with structures. We also very data driven. So without the data, we cannot actually understand how we move the change process. So we are very excited. I mean, it takes a lot of time to produce data. It also requires a lot of fitness over time. Of course, we have that fitness being 18 years in the field with our clients. So we know how to move the change process. That being said, the beginner's mindset is, of course, what ensures that we keep iterating to improve ourselves. If there are questions, you're very welcome to raise your hands and chip in. So your RAVENSMEAD, are you ready, Lucia? I know that this community is really important for you, and I've loved sitting with this case study, and I just want to celebrate our team. I want to celebrate the teachers, the students. It's really been a collaborative effort to move this environment, and I hope we've been able to do it justice. Of course, I could have put thousands of pictures in. We have so much data from this project. I just want to highlight what we mean by optimal performance. So you can see the heartbeat of me and we, and it's again, as I said, we facilitate shift. Okay, so those me's that are stuck in the desert, the guarded space, we facilitate the shifts into the we space. So it's really important. In order for we to be a healthy space, we cannot have a me stuck in the desert. So also when you think about mind shift, that imagine a teacher now begin to see somebody in the classroom that is stuck in the desert and can identify that and realize, okay, I cannot teach the student unless I help the student get out of the desert and into a growth space. That is the capacity that we help think about a stakeholder like a teacher becoming genuinely involved, they're not just seeing academics anymore. They're seeing also, of course, academics, but they're also seeing the whole being. So in order to produce academic results, you need to operate in the we space. I hope that kind of explains what we mean by the optimal performance space. So these are the 6 years, and I just want to highlight the major themes. 2019, here we have the reactive environment, the desert-like space where we set up. Big word for 2020, where the pandemic hit, was golden opportunity, and which was really where we widened our scope, as I'm going to highlight. Also, we get into 2021, a big milestone. Trust is big in these environments. And as I said, one sponsor had once told us that so many school projects fail because they struggle to build trust and connect. But we actually in 2021 became the chosen intervention program in the school. And Franklin is also going to help me present this case study. So I will soon call on you, Franklin, as well. Then in 2022, we really experienced growth, acceleration in the environment, genuinely involve stakeholders. With that, we also mean it's when we upgrade more and more to the we space, those individuals begin to look at all the people around them, say, oh my goodness, there's somebody struggling. How can I help? They become the champions that then begin to go back into the desert and fetch those who are still stuck on the edges. So if you just can imagine that suddenly you have people in this environment with more tools, more skills, and they see if somebody is stuck and they begin to help that person. It's a very genuine way of being where we realize that we cannot have somebody struggling, then the we is not whole. 2023, we see how the learning culture keeps evolving. That also means more and more leadership programs being invited to the school, which is very exciting. And for us, it shows that now the environment is driving their own growth, where in the beginning, 2019, there was really hardly anything moving. And 2024, which for us was a big year of reset, as I said, but beautifully, it was a big year of sustainability. It showed us that actually this school was ready to fly, that they didn't really need us. Not that we wouldn't have loved to keep a learning hub there, which we couldn't due to financial reasons, but it was beautiful to be able to say, wow, they can fly solo now, and that we have achieved what we were there to achieve. And that means that they have made that shift from being stuck in the desert, operating in scarcity and fear, defeated by their circumstances, and really moved into this vibrant, proactive, inspired environment where teachers take charge and drive growth. What we do as the very first thing, and this is again highlighting how we go into school environments, and that it was the change agent who came from a prison project, who came home into his community and wanted to bring the tools and skills to help the youth who were living in a desert-like environment, who felt so deeply about supporting shifts within his community. So this is the principal. So this is Franklin. This is the principal of RAVENSMEAD High School, Mr. Bowman. This is Bradley, who trained with us inside prison. This is the book, The Responsible Individual. And he realized that actually I have a choice in how I impact my environment. And then we feel inspired to build and rebuild and no longer to harm. So at the heart of what we do, and it is really this paying it forward, supporting community, becoming this positive role model. So this was the early days. We hadn't officially started our project yet. We were establishing a relationship and we were looking for funding at that stage. And then we had meetings with some funders that then decided to offer us a 3-year cycle, and that allowed us to start the process. 2019 is the official kickoff. And I just want to highlight the framework. So again, as I said, we're strict in following process. We operate in a very specific structured way in order to make sure that we can harvest the data. So we have 5 key objectives. We've mentioned the 4 of them here. The 5th one has to do with fundraising. And Franklin, maybe you can just speak into this. Maybe just briefly speak to why our key objectives are so important in guiding change, and even from the very beginning that we adhere to this focused framework.
I want to start by the holding hands or learning from our partners, the educational environment like schools. it is such a different environment compared to the inner development that Smiling One touched on, where I had multiple conversations about how beautiful the academic aspects of life is, and especially for our society, and how we can grow. Your Smiling One comes with a different aspect of life, and over time you will see how it complements the academic side, because while the inner development is so important to resonance and to kind of like help you focus and give you the tools to really develop academically. And it's unheard of in many spectrums or platforms where you have the heart and the head working together, and you kind of like develop them both on this holding hands and this togetherness and this partnership. And I come to the school in 2019, and you realize that there is a lot of things that are difficult and challenging and sometimes feel out of reach. And you realize that there is this aspect of the desert, this aspect where there's no help, with this aspect where there's no resources or no strategy or implementation, just how to get there. Yet all of the teachers are yearning for this support, this guidance, this just connecting to a broader network as the community and family, to help them with the students, to help them keep the school intact. Vandalism and crime and all of that stuff that affects the school, the educational environment. And to our objectives that directly speak into that was so significant to not only me as a person, but also as a team, and the way Smiling One has kind of like developed and mold and work, not just as Smiling One on this model and on the objective, but also taking our partners' hands and letting our partners know that, listen here, we are in our first objective, we are in our second objective, we are in our third objective. And there was many questions about the fourth objective, like how do you govern, how do you go about this? And I realized that even at RAVENSMEAD High School, because why there's such a lot of red tape and there's such a lot of wrongdoing towards teenagers, towards kids, you know, it's a lot of adults' concern. And at RAVENSMEAD, I was asked this one time by one of the management of the schools and of the school, and she asked me, like, how do you go about when a kid cries in your session? And I'm like, I'm not sure, what are you asking? And I came to the forefront because what I realized it was asking me, is this a safe environment for kids, seeing that they're so vulnerable in this, in their wounds, in their challenges, in what they were busy with. And I had said, so I like to talk, but I've responded with so much, not just confidence, but almost like a sense of my team is with me, because while my team has shown me good governance, and what does good governance look like? And I handed a Smiling One's child policy. So these objectives are not just strategies and implementations. There are also frameworks for the outside, not just our partners, our sponsors, and those who feel they can join hands with us. They can also then view these objectives as our cornerstones, as our go-through implementations or strategies to how we position ourselves once we hit the desert, once we've hit that wounding space, how to make the environment safe that looks chaotic at many times, and how do we just position ourselves as Smiling One. And that has been beautiful, because while not only as a human being have I gained a lot out of our objectives, I've also learned a lot from our partners, from the students, and from the communities and families, where I see these objectives can sometimes be missing. Sometimes we can want change, sometimes we can want to implement change, but we do not know how. These objectives is a perfect go-to or perfect how to achieve that. Yes, they are not perfect in their form. There will come a lot of challenges along with that, but I love it. The beautiful thing about it, Smiling One, is that we view the challenges as an opportunity. How can we grow our objectives? How can we grow in our objectives? How can we grow alongside our partners and the community and students in our objectives? So this is a beautiful platform when it comes to our objectives and how to implement things. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for that, and also for making it quite practical. You know, it is important to understand. It also builds trust. Because again, if we say we are a trusted partner and advisor, that we're change specialists, but you don't have the processes in place, people will doubt that you're able to handle this big task. And it's a big responsibility to have a process in a school environment. It's so tender. You know, it's so tender with the students, and that we show that we align ourselves. And that's also, so it's one thing also in our resource project guide that we are going to make a strong emphasis on, and it's going to be there, how to set up these objectives and how we do it. I mean, we're going to share everything because we feel it's so important. And the more people who can do what we do, the better. And that's also part of scaling, why the resource guide is so important. So let me just show you some pictures from that first year. And in this year, we also had Anya. So as I said, Anya was unfortunately not able to make it today, but she was a volunteer. She visited us for 6 weeks. She also joined us in the prison project. The kids loved her. They still speak about her. And I want us to, again, through her eyes, just see what the desert looks like and what the youth are actually dealing with, because that's how we also understand, as I said, the context we're working in. And if you understand context, we understand impact as well. So you can just take a moment, just look at her words. We're doing in our key objective 3, house visits, and where they really see the absence of parents and the lack of family support. She really got to listen to the hearts of the students who had parents who didn't communicate and didn't support. And it was hugely impactful for her. But also to see when parents do get the support and have a change agents that comes to visit on a quarterly basis to greet the families, to understand more of the home environment, to actually see that suddenly these families, I mean, we don't know what we don't know. So they get exposed to something new. There's a new lane added on the highway of life. And not all parents, it is a big struggle area and gap to bridge with parents' disengagement. But we've had quite a few parents who really stepped in and stepped up. And that impact on the student journey just means everything. I mean, we help all the partners in education to enroll themselves to become partners for change. And the parent is, of course, really important. I'm not saying that the student cannot reach great impact without it, but it's really helpful with it. So let's go into the next year, 2020. And here we're just showcasing some of the matriculants who graduated that year, who matriculated, and also how the seizing of career opportunities. So you might remember in the theory of change, the ultimate outcome is more leadership opportunities, more career opportunities. And that's what we want to showcase as well. And we had one of our students who joined the police academy and really determined to seize career opportunity. And here you have student Q, who was a gang member. And this is from our book that's in Leadership Lessons. And where we're also introducing different case studies. Here we see his desert. We see him stepping into the Smiling One Club, the leadership program, and he's starting to reframe his experience, this mindset shift, which helps him become the apprentice instead of the victim. And then really starting to innovate his life and stepping into leadership in his final year and then also matriculating. So it's really exciting to follow these stories. And of course, also in 2020, as we said, we had a golden opportunity. Again, we look at challenge as opportunity. And initially, when we started the RAVENSMEAD project, we did not have a scope to focus on teachers. But because we now had this golden moment, the pandemic presented a unique opportunity to enroll more stakeholders. And that's where the project teaches us. And that's also what Franklin says. You know, our approach is not, it's not like, okay, this is perfect. We know exactly what to do. We learn as we go along in our projects. And one of the big teachings in this project was you got to get the teachers involved. And they started joining session. And that has been such an important part of the change equation to ensure that we could move this project into a more sustainable space over 6 years. And that's thanks to the teachers coming on board as well. 2021. So this is, as I said, trust, big key word, where we become the trusted intervention program at school. Also, teachers are now really beating the drum of change there. I mean, and I'm sure you could hear it from Theo, his thirst for these circles of change and you can see how the student sits in a circle. And when you first drink of this beautiful, like what we call a watering hole in the desert, you just want more of it. Theo, just very briefly, when we are joining a circle of change, how we keep going back to it because we're hungry for more, we're tasting it, and now we want more and more to join. In your introduction, really felt how these circles of change, how impactful they were for you. So why are they so impactful?
I have so many reasons here, because I think I, for one, personally, and then I think we differ when it comes to e-transformation. For me, it was critical here because of at that present moment here, I felt so hopeless.
Yeah.
And for the mere fact that I was in a correctional center, and that's not how I was taught at home. And other thing is, I'm having some young brothers and sisters that were still, looking after me. So I knew that, with the change that I've made, it will influence others, because of, as I've said, they couldn't understand because of they didn't expect the new theo that they saw. They were expecting the worst from me.
Yeah.
For me, dear, to be in the circle, it was very useful.
Yeah.
Like for instance, now I'm having some few like nephews that they are trying to follow the negative, things that I used to do, so that now at least I can relate, to where they are at. I'm not controlling them yet, because of remember, a person who is hooked with drugs, you need to be extra careful, vigilant, and you need to have a different approach. You know what I mean? So for me, the second year, it has expanded it has given me flexibility there to deal with any human being who have different challenges in their lives.
I love that. I want to use that, and then I will want to play the ball to Franklin. So I'm using your words of hopeless, okay, flexibility, this environment, I mean, to be able to deal with, because why is it? Are the teachers hopeless? What are they dealing with? Do they need the flexibility? So thank you for those words, Theo. And now the audience can feel how it's like a little circle online here, how we play online. We shop for ingredients in the circle, and then we play ball. So Franklin, thank you for that, Theo. The teachers, when we think about them growing from 6 to 12 teachers in Smiling One sessions, coming to this session space, these circles of change. Speak a little bit to that and think about what Theo was just telling us about why he came to the circle. We know that these school environments are quite similar, desert-like.
I think that for from the teacher's testimony, and one of the early teachers that joined and became an ambassador and just loved what Smiling One was doing was the fact that she saw the students who went to the circle and experienced something and came back with a different glow on their face, with a smile on their face. And that was something that teachers has also longed for and teachers also wanted. And that was something that only the circle could have given you. That wasn't something that you could just find anywhere else. And I think that's the magical part about the circles is that you step into the circle and you realize firstly that you are not the only one who go through these challenges. You have always perceived yourself as the worst, going through the hardest thing, like there's no hope, there's just no way out of this. And you realize that there's a group of people that are going through the same thing. And I love it because why the school has showed you different levels of students that are involved in Smiling One, because when you get your first year student, you get your second year student, you get your first year teacher, then you get your second year teacher and your third year teacher. And all of those experiences or sharing, like Theo has also mentioned, the sharing was something that really pierced you because why it was from another human being who's are experiencing these vulnerability, who are experiencing these type of setbacks, who are experiencing these type of challenges or the hopelessness. It was that communion, that coming together, and especially for the teachers also, because a lot of them are in a desert, on an island, dealing alone with their challenges, where they now see that, oh, my colleague is also going through the same thing. Oh, my colleague is also struggling with this. And then it becomes like this, not debate, but more like this inspiration, this angles, this lanes, these answers come popping up out of nowhere, and these explorations, this way to figure out. So the circle ultimately was an exploration of our vulnerability, of our challenges, of the things that gets us down at many times. And that's what the teachers were drawn to, because why? They felt like there was no hope. They felt like there was no resources. They felt like there was no tools. And here they found it in the circle amongst each other.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful. And we also have, of course, because they pass it on, because this is the ripple, because suddenly they have a space. Because imagine when we don't have a space to release, we often release it on our students. And it is, as you can see here, so that's Mr. Fächerland, and there is going to be a case study around, an impact case study around him, just in a few pages. But the person, and he called himself the dragon, the person he was before, of course, he impacted negatively, harmfully, not intentionally, but still on his classroom and on his students. But the moment he became aware of that and also started to work on his inner, the outer started to shift as well. And the capacity they then have for the students who are still stuck in their deserts, just everything changes. It's so beautiful to observe. And also that's why here the next case study with this student, student B, who joined our club 2019, he matriculates in 2021. And he gave us this testimony the year he officially became a social worker. So again, think about career opportunities. So we're up in the ultimate outcome. And you can also see it because when you look at the photos, hey, so you see him in 2019, he's a little bit more rough in his energy and how he begins to soften in how he looks. And today he's pursuing his career, and he gave us this testimonial that we are a definition of positive youth development. As a former student of the program, I've been transformed. It's beautiful to see the impact and the ripple effect. And it's not just Smiling One, it's also the environment that now starts supporting him. Okay, the teachers, the parents of Franklin, this is his parent, right? Here in the matriculant.
Yeah, that's his mom.
Exactly. So Byron also had house visits, yeah?
Yes, he had house visits also.
So we're kind of tackling it from the different angles, especially when we have a youth at high risk, just to go in and support and also model, because that's a big part of what we do. Because as you were saying, Franklin, that one teacher has seen how the students came from the Smiling One space. Now, we need to first model. So when we start a new school project, first we need to do a lot of that basic work. So we model what it can look like when a student starts shift energetically. And that is part of also enrolling the teachers to become stakeholders, as I call it, partners for change, partners in education. And then 2022, this shareholder awareness, and that's what we call growth acceleration, when we begin to realize that I own a share in the well-being of my culture, of my environment, of my classroom. So I cannot just look at this classroom as I'm here to teach maths. Because if a student is struggling and stuck in the desert, and if I'm not, kind of supporting and able to hold space for that, I'm not saying they need to have all the tools and skills that we have, but it's important that they become safe adults and safe spaces. And that's what we are supporting them in creating. And here's this beautiful testimonial. He's expanded his view and realized actually what the students are dealing with. And it also helps him to approach the students in his classroom very, very differently. Again, I'm not going to read all the things in our annual report, but just showcasing how we're in this accelerated space. The stakeholders start to drive growth. They bring in a different view on education, what we call holistic education, where they are genuinely involved, they're creating more cohesive environments. And that, of course, supports also that there's less dropouts, because now the students also, they create a safe space. So the student engagement increases, and also the aspirations increases of the students. And more and more teachers join the Smiling One sessions. We even have this year 3 of our teachers volunteer to lead another leadership initiative at school, which is really exciting because they understand we actually need a lot of things to help us at the school. We have a TRI student who becomes head boy. We also have a TRI teacher, Mr. Fecheland, who gets featured in our new book. And this is the featuring in the book. I'm not going to read it, but just if you look at this case study with the youth in the desert, in this case study, high-risk youth, student R, so my desert, alcoholic parents, I go to bed hungry, I have no support, crime, gangsterism is a possibility, I struggle at school, it's just too much. So that's one of the students in his classroom. Now, the student moving into a growth space and beginning to create his oasis, he now says, and as Theo said, affirming the change. So that's, of course, what everybody learns in our session space, in our leadership program, to affirm the change. Not the desert space, but to affirm that I'm not my circumstances, I am who I choose to become. So I have support. My Smiling One family and my teachers, like Mr. P, invest in me. They see me. I see possibility where before I saw none. I now have tools and leadership skills. I'm motivated. I grab opportunity. I make the best of my academic path. I am best in my class. I inspire my peers. We support each other. And I just want to again highlight, these are not just words. We're not just writing testimonials. These are, as you're feeling us, and as you said, Lucia, the way you come here is because you feel this energy. The students start to actually shine a very different energy. We saw it in the facial expression of that one student. There's just, you can see the change lives in them. Then we get to year 2023. Again, one of the things, because I haven't highlighted that before now. We of course say that the way we run our process, we're very structured, we're driven by frameworks, but also when it comes to navigating environments like these, they keep shifting all the time. There are moving parts. One day, 2 days are not the same. And one of the things I really want to celebrate for the Smiling One team is how fit we have become when we reach 2023, and actually being in this ever-moving space and adapting to the culture. And also, Franklin, maybe you can just quickly mention, sometimes when we start a new year, even if we've been there now for several years, some teachers don't know who we are, not those who come to our sessions, but there's still teachers who are not like, oh, Smiling One, who's that? Because their space, they get swallowed up, their capacity, by all this chaos. It's super overwhelming for a lot of the teachers. And if they're not our TRI teachers, some of them, it's like we have to reintroduce ourselves. So it's just that you get a picture of what is important to navigate when running a successful project in these extreme environments. So maybe just speak a few words into that.
I think that one of the things that constantly surprise me is that when the teachers don't know of our process, because why they drown in a lot of administration and academic work, and you constantly have to rub the environment and fly your flag, but it has become something that we're so used to, and we go into in these spaces where exactly where our flag is missing, where the inner development is missing. And being so long in the environment, you realize that we are actually in such a fit process, or such a sufficient process, where the project calls us to these spaces, because at one moment we're doing grade 10, 11, and 12, and then the project calls us to get yourself involved into grade 8 and 9s, because they are the ones now requesting for you. They are the ones now wanting to know more about Smiling One. And what is that classroom there? Why is everyone going to the club? And you really get that sense of we've really planted our flag here in the project. And yes, it is just not about planting the flag, because you constantly have to rub the environment. But it is good when we have those ambassadors, when we have students that can share what Smiling One is about, when we have teachers that can say what's it about. And then it makes the process a lot easier for Smiling One, because we constantly connect, we constantly are involved in the environment. We showcase really what we are about and what we are doing. And you can find the testimony in the students, in the teachers who does this magnificent projects. As 3 of the teachers just take on a new initiative, the students, they get better marks, the students start to support the teacher. So these are the things that really shows you, hey, Smiling One is really, they really came a long way. Yeah.
No, completely. And also just for context, so there was 39 teachers at RAVENSMEAD, hey, and probably over the time we would have been touch point, around half of the teachers, but it doesn't mean that we get to all of the teachers, which is of course also part of the financial aspect challenge. If we've had more change agents, we've been able to get the entire environment. But that's, what I love about having also, that's part of the struggle, and learning from the struggle is you learn a lot in this space also, in how to move in the environments, deal with the environments, and why the ambassadors are so important to help what we call fly the flag, which promotes the program, so we can get more and more deeply into the school culture. But even if we didn't get to all of the teachers, enroll all of the teachers, we had enough teachers to actually keep the environment into a growth space, because you just need a critical mass that will help you now beat the drum of change. And you can see here in 2023, there are now 5 leadership initiatives at school. And they're hungry for change. We have some teachers' case studies that you can tap into. This is just one of the case studies, Mrs. Cupido, who was inviting her fellow teachers into the space. Why it was so important, because it is, again, her desert. There's a big staff turnover also at RAVENSMEAD. So a lot of teachers left, new teachers came. That contributes also to why we have to reintroduce ourselves to many of the new teachers. I want to highlight, of course, the key words when you think about self-awareness, growth, mature decision-making, a better me for better we. It's again, the teacher knows that if I'm well, I can help my classroom better. Also, as I spoke about Mr. Fischerland, and I just want to spend a little moment here. So here's the dragon. So these are his words, not my words. So as he said, so his patience was limited, and how Smiling One helped him think about who he chooses to be. And when I know what character, if it's the dragon that speaks, that he can adjust better to a challenge. Otherwise, he would just be the dragon. And he's learned to remove himself from situations when caught in the dragon. Now, what I want to highlight here is, of course, how he became a huge champion of change. He became enrolled for a partner for change, and what that actually resulted in when you look at one of his students who came from the ghetto. So here he speaks about Shannon, and Shannon has allowed us to use her name and her case study because he's no longer a youth under 18. So if somebody's under 18, we may not use their names at all, and then we need guardians' permission to be able to to feature them in our case studies. She came from the ghetto. She said he cried. This young woman was able to lift herself out of the ghetto, and she wrote him a letter here. So this is her. Good day, Sir Shannon here. And so she's thanking him for his unwavering support, guidance, and belief in her. You made a profound impact in my life, and I'm forever grateful. Your passion for teaching and your dedication to my growth has inspired me in ways I cannot put into words. Thank you for shaping my future with your knowledge and your care. Thank you for being there for me. Your enthusiasm for teaching is contagious. I'm grateful to have the support to learn from you. Patience, kindness, understanding, it's helped me grow and succeed. I mean, it's her heart, so she's just sharing her heart, and that she's been able, instead of being swallowed by the desert, which so many of the youths does, but she had somebody who helped her. There was a platform for her. Somebody saw her. Somebody paid attention. Somebody helped her so she could have her new beginning. And we have so many of these case studies. 2024. So in 2024, so that's of course last year, our reset year, we already know in 2024 that this project is going to close down because we start our financial year in March. And it's something we write in our previous report. We'd had quite a few proposals out there, and none of them actually went through. So we knew that we are going to come to a close. But what was really wonderful for us was to be able to see this project through, because we are deeply aligned to our values. When we commit, we follow through. So also to see how this project had reached its tipping point, and so this is Mr. Roman here, and this is an exposure class. So you heard Franklin talking about exposure classes. So in our key objective 2, which is help shift the school culture, we were running several exposure classes daily across the school environment. There's 1,200 students at the school, and at this stage, we had 15 active TRI teachers. They, of course, doing their own exposure, as we've seen in 2023, the case study with Mr. Fischerland, how they continuously expose the students who are still stuck in their desert and having these growth conversations. So that's one part of the activities that we do on a daily basis, 2 to 3 exposure classes. Then there's the Smiling One Club. And in the club is an intensified process. So that's where we run the Responsible Individual Leadership Program, and where the students come twice a week for a club session, or they come for daily light touch dialogues. And we had 30 enrolled students. So those are the students that enrolled to come to session, who take time to really go deeper into their desert, so they're able to transform it into a growth space. And what's important, so this big theme about filling the gap, that year, the Western Cape Educational Department, they had a few years before launched their values campaign, but because this environment was still so chaotic, RAVENSMEAD was actually a few years behind in actioning on the request from the educational department to launch this campaign. And we helped them start the launch of that. And we launched it into the exposure classes. You'd have here different teachers again talking about how they felt inspired, how their horizons have been broadened by being in the in the class. And what I want to highlight here is to Miss Phillips, just so you get through her eyes what it means to work with the concepts of Smiling One. So as she says, that you have a working model where you introduce a lot of aspects that we look past daily. There are many things we should be aware of. Smiling One makes things practical. I sit with students, I see how they operate, I see myself, I'm now present with a challenge, and I take a more practical approach. Varsity only taught me theory. I'm involved now. Smiling One taught me how to look deeper, to investigate the reasons behind the behaviors and understand the individuality of children, so the me, yeah? Their challenges are complex, and so are they. The models and concepts I learned in varsity are good, but Smiling One's model touches on many points that I've learned but never put into practice. Now I see how the dots connect by applying them in to a daily practice. So it's just through her words, through her eyes, through her experience, you're just getting like a view, a window into our toolkit. It's very fun. It's very colorful. And both for teachers, so the student and teachers, they work with the same toolkit. So let's just venture in here to there's a student case study, which is really powerful, one of our champions of change. And, we're building the case study. So we chose the students. He won an award in our program. It was a top ambassador, Franklin. Just remind me.
Yes.
Thank you for that. So she recruited 11 students to attend our intensified process. And she was also very active in the classroom. So when there was one of the students who had a reactive episode, she would suggest to the teacher, let's go hang out in the club. Let me take care of that. So she was very involved. Now, what I want to highlight in her case study is her emotional literacy. So that again gives you a view into our toolkit, into our conversations in those, as Theo was talking about, the circle of change. Let's just go in here. So just a little taste of these beautiful processes that the students are going through. I didn't speak. I kept things light, talking about small surface level topics. When I came to Smiling One, it took me some time to cry, slowly. I began to understand that my inner child isn't always strong. And it's okay to cry. I've been trying to be strong all the time. And I think I scared my inner child. My ego and pride were so loud that I couldn't hear her call. That day, I finally heard her scream and I cried with her. It was terrifying because I couldn't hold myself together anymore. I just let it out. It hurt and I didn't want to hurt anymore. After that, I started accepting this part of myself. Crying isn't a weakness. Strong people cry too. I allowed my inner child to speak. I started to connect with her, and that helped me heal. I also improved my relationship with others. I began to understand myself on a deeper level, and that understanding helped me connect better with the people around me. In your own time, you're welcome to sit with the annual report. There's so many treasures in this report. And on the third page of her case study, there are the teachers that are talking. There are 3 teachers that are giving feedback. So we already always do like a 360. It's the data that we're collecting so we can follow the optimal performance profile of these students to see, have we supported them to effectively shift from the desert to the oasis, not just in our opinion, but what do the teachers say? They're really impressed with how this student has improved herself and has healed herself, and the values, the empathy she shows, her maturity, her leadership skills. And also, as Mr. Joseph says, he always looks at descaling situations. He can see her toughness, and we've heard about her toughness in her case study, but she's not harming the environment with her reactiveness. She's able to actually just reset herself and step back into the academic flow. So the club, so here are a few voices from the club. So we actually had a container at the back of the school environment where the students found us. So it was a little bit separate, and there they came, they hung out, they had their club sessions, but they even came in intervals and had light touch dialogues. And Franklin, maybe just for a moment, speak into the club space as well, when you think about it, to have a safe space to come to for these students.
Okay, I think that one of the ideal things about the club space was, out of the whole environment being that chaotic and being so busy, and everybody just finding their feet. Very reactive environment sometimes in the educational system. You find Smiling One who kind of like found a way to just what our approach meant, being gentle and kind, and just seems to soften up that whole chaotic environment. And it was kind of a safe space for students to kind of like retreat at the end of the day while being so busy, while being just sometimes challenged or knocked down by the things that they experience in that environment. And here you could come to Smiling One, and the space was safe, the space was calm, the space was therapeutical at the end of the day, because while you could experience a challenge outside in the school environment, then you can come back to the club, and then you had fellow members there, and you ask them questions. How are you dealing with that? I love it when especially when the junior grades and the senior grades interact inside of the club, because why, in examples, there was this one moment where a junior student came and, well, my mom did this and my mom does this and my mom here and my mom there, and one of the senior students stepped up, and then without me even saying anything, I was like just looking at them, and she's like, yes, your mom has a lot of flaws, and so do many human beings. But the fact that we still have moms is a blessing and something that we can be grateful for. And it wasn't an adult speaking to her. This club space resonates its others' voices. It kind of like influences one another to that new perception or that new way of thinking or understanding more about their situations. And that was so beautiful about the club space, is that the retreat and just that voices that you had inside of the club.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that. It's sure. I hope you can really feel the project, because it's that there's so many nuances and so much that takes place and shifts that takes place, and how they all complement each other and work together. So there's many nuts and bolts in a project that needs to work together to kind of culminate into this experience. And then just lastly, from the RAVENSMEAD school project, so here's another student. She's speaking to other students, just to your point, that she has a message for the youth out there.
Yeah. So a message for the youth. You have to start being yourself. Most of us do not know who we are. Building your confidence and bravery, and figure out where you want to go. Most people do not know how to follow a journey. Don't let that break you down. You already know some things about yourself, and if not, take the time to figure them out. Leadership programs like Smiling Ones are a great way to help you discover who you are. Having goals is important. It sets you up for success and puts you on a journey. Some of my family members, now living overseas or in other provinces, live their best life because they were goal-orientated. It won't always be easy, as friends and relationships sometimes hold you back. But remember, friends are just one part of who you are. It's important to recognize what is good for you and your journey. Some people try to move forward but keep looking back, which can keep them stuck. For teenagers, letting go can be especially tough. Family issues and relationships can feel overwhelming. They were for me too. Smiling One helped me with that.
Yeah, so again, a picture of how they have conversations amongst themselves and help each other. And that's again part of this ripple effects that start happening when we move into actually sustainability, that they're helping each other. So also here we see some of our graduations, the champions of change and celebration. Also we got a beautiful award from the RAVENSMEAD High School at their valedictory. Just again, a symbol of their appreciation for our service at the school. So it was beautiful to receive that together as a team in honor of the Smiling One team. And that's how we work things. It takes all of us. Nobody can run a project like this solo. It really takes all the hands and hearts we can get. And just to the point, Franklin mentioned that in terms of our processes and child protection policies. So again, we obsess about quality. We have an engagement guide, a child protection policy. Of course, we adhere strictly to the POPI Act. Also, we have our Circles of Change manual, which is our coach education. And then we're busy creating our Partners in Education resource guide. So again, just an emphasis on how important it is. And also the way we've built and understood these policies is we've crafted it. Every year, we've added something new because the POPI Act came into play. There was a deadline in 2021. And Anya she was with us in 2019. And actually through those 2 years, we could then launch a solid POPI Act policy for the foundation as well. Then a big thank you from us to the RAVENSMEAD High School project, to the students, the sponsors, the parents, the team, that we were able to achieve these amazing results. And as I said, last year, we closed down the project in December, and we actually didn't know going into 2025 that we're going to start a new school project. That's how it looked in our reality at that stage. And then we had a conversation. One of the loyal sponsors said, no, we actually really would like to support you. So we had some funding flowing our way beginning of the year, which then initiated this new school project, which we're really grateful for. I think we've shared a lot in the RAVENSMEAD project, so I'll just let people read this in their own time. I'm just reading the vision for Elswood High. The youth is our future. They need our support and guidance. And in collaboration with our partners in education at Elswood High School, we are committed to reshaping the school culture through positive influence, enhanced opportunities, and a commitment to inspire lasting change. And of course, the RAVENSMEAD High School project has given us a view of how that, not that it's going to be a copy and paste 100%, but it's a similar roadmap that lies ahead for us. And as I also started saying with the vice principal, Ms. Hanslow, who spoke about measuring progress and really earning the trust and the respect of the youth, I think we are up for a real treat in working together with these partners. I will say that this project side is probably from a high risk. I mean, they're both really high risk, but the school reminds me of Hutchinson prison. So it's like a dungeon, and that I can't wait to see what's going to happen over the next few years. Hopefully, we are able to open big funding doors because we still haven't fulfilled our budget for the year. We still need more. But we're very positive about reaching our target of R1 million. So we're able to help the school and also get more funders on board to have a 5-year cycle at least at this new high school. Just a few words to our project resource guide. As you can hear from the project presentation, that we're very clear on how we run our projects, and also certainly the beginner's mind, the apprentice is very strong in us. So we want to share best practices that we've learned from the field, our SMAC recipes, because the structure provides direction, the do's and the don'ts, our drills, report drills, our roadmap. And as you said, and you said it the other day, Manuela, the skill set, and maybe you could just emphasize on that again, if you don't mind, just to speak into this particular skill set that Smiling One offers.
Yes, I think it's around, you hold I think it's reflected in your model here. I was kind of grasping that more today, but there's something about how when you enter an environment, there's a flexibility that Franklin and you show, that you're not fixed with your model, whereby you walk into the environment and then you impose this model and then everybody has to listen to that's just not how you work, and that's very unusual, and I feel quite unique to Smiling One. But it shows a real faith in your model, and also it shows a kind of a resilience, strength in your capacity to deal with really extremely challenging environments, and like you say, every day is so totally different, and yet somehow you manage to work the work into the environment. And I think that shows incredible capacity and trust in each other and your material, and an openness, a real openness to the unknown. Actually, you've managed 2024 in much the same way. So you guys just live your material, and I think it's
We do.
yeah, you do. I think it's commendable, highly commendable.
Thank you for that. Thank you. Take a brief visit into the prison work. It is those raw diamonds. The reason we can run these projects so well is because we have the change agents, the raw diamonds, and we support their transformation inside prison into Smiling One change agents. And you know it from my story as I started off the journey of the annual report. Also, I was inspired and moved in my change process. And you've seen how it looks like, how the change agents impact change, because they understand these extreme places, and they also understand what it is to be a youth growing up in such a place. And what we do is moving towards the World Project. A healthy individual builds a healthy team, a healthy family, a healthy community, and helps create a healthy world for us all. That's how it connects. So our school project and prison project are deeply connected, and we would love to run many more school projects with many more change agents. So this is from our graduation last year, 2024, where we had a group of men who graduated, 23 men graduated, and 15 are now in coach training. I mean, by then, end of financial year was 7 students, but now we have more. And here we have Theo, Luyanda. I never thought you could plant a seed in concrete. The perception I had was that seeds grow in soil, not in rocks. And this is a picture from 2009 with Mr. Haynes. And this is from a graduation ceremony back in the day. And your story is quite an important thread in our Growth Igniter, our 10 leadership lessons. And I'm going to read this, because when you said, I'm done with crime. Okay, so I'm going to read it because this is what you said. And these are your words, it's 100%. I have been kept in a cage all these years. I broke every mirror on my way, plastered my wounds, hoping they would heal, using one shortcut after another. The most challenging part was I never knew I had separated from my inner self, up until I met Smiling One. As time went by, there were things that touched my heart. Some things I knew, but others I didn't. I didn't know that you could build something inside of you like values. It did become scary because there were things I'd left unresolved in my past, open wounds. The responsible individual took me back to visit every area of myself. Maybe I can lie to somebody else, but I cannot lie to myself. The time had come to be honest with myself. This is one of the values I'm shaping. I love my values. They ground me and speak for themselves. I'm the reason so many of our youth have chosen a dark path. They followed me when I was still doing crime. It's my duty to help them choose a different path. If each one of us would sweep our doorsteps, the entire world would be clean. Theo's actions today define what it means to be a conscious community enabler, a present father, a reliable provider, and a man of integrity. He works constantly on his upgrade. So I just want to celebrate you, Theo. Really, I want to celebrate the man you are, the father you are. We absolutely adore you. You always show up. You always, as you started off here today, I know I need to invest. You know, this is the gas station to come to. And I just want you to feel our appreciation. We see you. We appreciate you deeply. Thank you for being part of our change movement, for being a change agent, for being a friend. And we dearly, dearly love you. Thank you.
It's an honor, my dear.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So as we know on that note, Theo, hey, that every incarcerated man is a stakeholder in the future of our youth. I mean, you're a good example of that. Franklin is a good example of that. Will he harm or will he build? And how can he rebuild? And our project is all about rebuilding. All about rebuilding. So let us give him a leadership toolkit, a supportive community and fellow travel companions, and a platform to unlock his untapped potential. The seed of greatness is within each one of us. And thank you for being that example, both you and Franklin. And as we step into this new year that we're already very busy with, 2025 and beyond, we want to develop many more change agents. And of course, we want to attract a lot more funding to do a lot more work. We have renewed our service agreement with DCS, which is the Department of Correctional Services. We've been a trusted partner here at Brunfley since 2008. It was our first project. Another 25 inmates are going to join us, brand new, raw diamonds. They're going to join our leadership gym in July. Yes, we need funders to scale. Imagine we could develop thousands of change agents. Imagine the school projects that could be run. I mean, let's not stop imagining where that would take us. We imagine bringing the change experience to many more prisons, many more people, many more environments. And also structures. For a moment, I'm just going to show you, we of course very structured in our educational approach. It keeps evolving, it keeps being added. So right now you can see the graduates down here, they are on the recruiter bench and they're going to learn to co-facilitate alongside me in July. We are going to step into the 10 leadership lessons. So we practice. You would have seen the level 1, level 2 environment. You might say, oh, what does that mean? So the 10 leadership lessons features a shift from ground zero, level 1 scene of devastation into a growth space, new beginnings, and how we can move towards creating and shaping oases. So this book is really a study of shifting environments and starting in the human quest so that we can upgrade into the quest for our shared humanity. So we're humbled by the trust our sponsors have shown us in us and in our vision. And that's how we feel, that when people invest, we take it very seriously and we want to live up to it and show us worthy through consistent delivery in our projects and of course by showcasing the progress. And that's also why we spend a lot of time making sure that these reports sing. So you get to feel what our world looks like and what the world of our beneficiary looks like when they have been touched by this change experience. When we think about why should we invest in becoming an investor, and it's not just a financial decision to invest in our change movement. It's really a commitment to building a future that is grounded in values and capable leadership. And this is something that I took from our conversation on our board with Franklin and Manuela the other day as we were talking, and how essential our programs are, because the world keeps moving and these change agents cannot just navigate in change, they can lead change. You give them any environment, they will stay centered. And think of the tree. You can give the tree any storm, but those roots are deep and stand firmly and grounded. And even if there's once in a while an inner storm, because we're all human, we all have storms, there's still the toolkit that grounds you. So we really want to create and nurture the human potential, develop leaders that are capable, values-driven, who can guide families, communities, and our society towards a sustainable future. Because they're not just individuals, they're a catalyst for long-term impact. So any investor, and we call those who fund us investors, because you become part of a transformative movement and you help ensure that tomorrow's society is built on principles, solid principles, and to create a legacy of capable leadership for generations to come. And one way, so there's different ways of helping any programs. I mean, our programs that we run in high-risk areas, we also run in corporates and leadership areas, and we donate from whatever programs are booked in our academy. Also, the leadership book here goes 100% towards our prison work, our work with the students, our change movement. So we as a board, so governance, we value governance. We know it's important. We take it deeply seriously to adhere to quality management, and that is also integrated in our management system. And we, of course, adhere. We have our auditors, our external auditor is A.G. Page, and today we're also going to nominate them again and re-elect them to support us. We're also going to nominate and re-elect our board to take us into this next financial year. So before I go into the last part, which is our financial report, I just want to ask all of you to help me adopt the presentation of our annual report. Is there anything you felt was left out from the report? So just a show of hands if you're happy with the report and the presentation you've received today. Has it landed for you? Do you feel the impact? Have we complied with what we set out to do? Yeah? All happy? Very nice. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. We're just going to spend a little moment. So, of course, we have done our audit, and you're going to see the peanuts we worked with in our financial year. So what I want to highlight this financial year, because we start in March financial year, like we actually in 2024, we did get 350,000 from the funder of the school project. So we were working with 500,000 over the year, just for clarity. But we did have a shortfall of funds from 2023 that we brought into the next year in the school project. We've been running below budget over the last few years because we kept just running on the fumes. So I just want to give thanks to the sponsor, because this anonymous donor was willing to give us another 150,000. So we actually hit the 500,000 to be able to complete the project. That if we hadn't gotten that 150,000, we would have had to close down the project earlier. We also give thanks to RUC. We actually met Robert, when was that, Franklin? In prison at a certificate ceremony back in 2011 or 12.
2011,
and he's been
2011.
Okay. And he's been supporting your journey as well already before Smiling One came into the picture, when you were at Portsmouth. So that's been a long-standing relationship. They raise funds for our fuel to drive to prison. Then also the change agents, when they have projects, they're not hired, but they're contracted, because when you don't have proper funds and you don't have solid foundation where you know funds is going to come in over and over again, it's difficult to hire people. But their commitment, the change agents, they donate a part of their remuneration to help build a buffer into the foundation. So when we have any shortfalls, then also we've had small other donations and book sales. We do want to make any more efforts when it comes to selling our book. It's just, it's been difficult. And that's one of the complexities in running fundraising, is that because we run the projects, and yes, you can see how deeply immersed we are in projects, in following data and compliance, to then also be full-time fundraisers is really, really difficult. So a big part of the decision to reset and close down RAVENSMEAD was also to really say, so how are we going to approach a new season? What is it going to look like? Are we going to run more school processes? So we were really willing to say, let's just reset. Let's see what happens. And then, of course, we had the sponsor approaching us again, and we got 400,000 for this year. This is, of course, not in this budget, but we don't have promises of further. Yes, this is a year of really extending ourselves into more partnerships, getting more people involved, more stakeholders, get more help to rethink how do we get better at fundraising. We are not good at fundraising. I'm sure you can see that, but we are really good at running our programs, but we no longer want to run our programs like just voluntary. We do need to ensure proper foundation for our team, for our foundation, because also when we go into a process, we want to be able to guarantee we're going to stick around for 5 years. As you'll be able to see, none of the things we do you can implement in 3 weeks, 3 months, or even a year. We take our time. We dig deep. We have to get all the way into those roots to make sure we create fertile soil, because the soil is stagnant and it takes time and we need the time. And that's, of course, one of the other complexities when we look at funding is that a lot of people, I mean, last year we approached local government a lot. I mean, we did so much knocking on doors, and the year before, and it's like they just want to invest in short term. So there's a ceiling we need to break through. We want to understand how do we break through the ceiling, and we need help. And that's one of the things that we really go out of the year with, to be able to break through the boundaries for ourselves. So we're really happy that we were able to, as we said, with RAVENSMEAD project. It was a hard decision. We would love to keep a project site, a learning hub at the school. Not that they're not going to do well, but it's good to keep project sites open. And certainly we hope we'll be able to continue this wonderful partnership. There are, of course, a case study, but we imagine that we're able to, at all the sites we've been active in, that we can keep a learning hub there just to keep supporting them. We're very proud of that we were able to follow through and have a steadfast commitment to our core values, our mission, and our stakeholders to ensure we could complete with the highest level of integrity and care. And I think, to your point, Manuela, much of our ability to navigate a complex year like 2024 really came down to our toolkit. We live and breathe what we teach. And we are like those trees. We're solid in the ground, even if it's stormy weather. So we move through our own storms. And that's what we really believe in, that they're going to make us even stronger in our mission, because we become more adept at supporting those we serve through their storms. So it develops our understanding, it strengthens our resolve, and it just makes our work even more impactful. Now, a reflection also, and just thinking into the financial aspect, is that we all, of course, any organization will go through a season of earning their right in order to call themselves change specialists, because you got to build your portfolio of evidence to showcase your values proposition, your unique skill set, of course, through impact case studies. But we do feel that after 17 years of doing just that, that it's really time to fully embrace our authority in the field as a brand that recognizes its worth with the deepest humility, because it doesn't mean that we feel that we're done learning. On the contrary, as you could see, we really step in to learn from environments. But it is time for the next season. In order for us to do this work, to continue this work, and to impact on this level, which we do really well, it needs to be properly funded. So drawing a line in the sand is just a powerful statement in this 2024 reset, to understanding our limits, to no longer wanting to operate on tight budgets and compromise on core values, because when you run on low, then you risk the well-being of your foundation, of your team. And even if we really take our commitment seriously, but we must prioritize our own well-being as well. And it's back to this me and we. If we're struggling, everybody else will be struggling. We must make sure everybody in that change equation is doing well. So as one door closed, as I said, another one opened, and we did have a funder who stepped in, not to cover our full budget, but it really felt like almost like just an energetic investment to say, wow, we actually really believe in what you do. And they know that we go where most don't dare go, and that we make the seemingly impossible possible, to your point, Manuela. So we are this year, now 2025, we are re-energized and committed to building a strong foundation so we can keep supporting our clients. And you'd see here, you can see when you look at the change experience as well, how it actually looks like, and the different kind of levers that needs to be in place in order to support our clients. And last year, there was in our annual report, there was a big stop sign, because we knew that we were struggling already at the end of last financial year. So we're really excited to step in and see what we can unlock this year together with other people. And so you'd see, Carl, you're actually here in our annual report. So on the quest of strengthening our network, you will find us on weekly hikes of Lion's Head, really to also keep bringing the message out there, but also to be inspired by how we can expand ourselves, our mindset, how we learn to do fundraising better. And thanks to Carl, I got to get to Bertha House, exploring this new space, not just the community program, which was deeply inspiring, but also actually a space to go have workshops with the team. And we were talking before we started the annual report, Theo, Franklin, and I, how important it is for us to also go have a space. And when we have some of the new change agents coming out of prison, that they have access to environments that are deeply inspiring, ecosystems. And I think Smiling One, we are Smiling One, we need to be better at joining ecosystems so that we contribute into that, but we also benefit from that. This is RUCs, this is Robert, and we did a live report here the other weekend just to renew their commitment as well for their sponsorship for the new year. So this is just few steps we're taking. There are many more also be featured in our next annual report of the steps we take to collaborate. So this is to everyone out there. Hopefully you've been moved by the change experience and if you feel you could support us in any shape or form, we would love to hear from you. We're all so much stronger together. Let's collaborate. And the last page of the annual report is there are different ways to support us, both by buying the book, by helping us fundraise, to help us with new ideas. Let's collaborate. So I just want to show as well on my screen here the financial statements. You're welcome to have access to the financial statements. So these are audited financial statements from HG Page and Company. So two things we're going to do. We're first going to adopt the financial statements, and then we're going to nominate our auditors to be able to do another year with us. So you're welcome. I'm not going to linger too much. I've just given a brief overview of our expenditure and our income for the year. So you'll be able to see that here. Okay, so do you have any questions? Are there any questions? Any questions? You're welcome to have access to the annual financial statements. We have, of course, as a board already adopted the financial statements. So I just need help from my board to adopt officially at this year's annual general meeting to adopt our financial statements. Thank you so much. Beautiful. Also, thank you so much, Franklin. Also, I would like to nominate our auditors to continue to support us. I mean, we're very lucky. We pay a very limited amount to do our audited statements. We've been with them for the entire existence of the Smiling One Foundation. They know us well. And that's helpful when you are producing, when you're dealing with the finances. Can I nominate and can I help my board also help elect AG Page going into another year of supporting us as our auditors for the year? Then I also would like help. So I would like to nominate Franklin to join our board of trustees for another round, another year. And also I just want to say we're always open for more board members. I just want to put it out there that if anybody wants to join the board and wants to help serve and help expand, we are really open to have more people join our board and help us on our mission to reach just more clients and provide sustainable solutions and projects for the future. Franklin?
I would like to nominate Manuela for another year on the board.
Thank you, Franklin. And I would like to nominate, who am I nominating? Karina. I would like to nominate Karina. How can we not have you, Karina?
Well, I did say at the beginning, before we started the official meeting, I'll think about if I'm going to join one.
Yes, you did say that, actually.
It's going to be a privilege.
At least another year on our board, please.
Let's have another year. So can we ask if our audience can help us elect? So can you help me elect Franklin for our board? Can you help elect Franklin? Are you happy with his service? You've seen his service for the year. Lovely. Can you also, so Franklin, I'll give the word to you.
Can you help elect Manuela? Manuela, are you happy with the service?
And over
Thank
to
you. Can you help? Thank you, Karina. Can you help me elect Karina?
Definitely.
Definitely.
Thank you so much. So I'm going to open up to everybody. I would love to hear a word from everybody, how this experience has been for you. Now that you've experienced our world and our hearts. So who would like to start to share a few words in conclusion of this beautiful annual general meeting?
If I can start, wow, you see the zoom out picture as especially, I think, because it was such a big portion of the 6 years at the RAVENSMEAD High School. The way the project has just been magical and evolved over the years. And I think that evolution or that development of the project, it all speak into the sense where me and Theo are here today, because where there was an evolution, there was a sense of development in not just our manhood, but also into being human. And that is the thread that I would like to leave here with today, and how you can in that development go to different phases. See that we are starting a new school project, and it doesn't matter how little of resources, and sometimes, because well, I've been the one who wish for those more resources, wish to have more change agents in a project. I just wish for that expansion, but the phases that you go through sometimes take you to this little resource spaces, and then you thrive and you find that new ways of being, and just to adapt into that evolution or evolve along with that is really a sense of magic, a sense of community, a sense of partnership, a sense of collaborating, not just with the universe, but also with those who have the same visions and goals. Because well, I think that one of the significant things about the school projects is that you have family members and parents and teachers also wishing the students well, or wanting more for the students, and that's what makes it so magical about it all. I think that it is evident and it is key that the guys in prison, those who are doing the project right now, they are the ones who going to be the kind of next generation of change agents, that kind of like get the flag, flying the flag of Smiling One, of the programs, and they have the opportunity now to really come to a space and maybe fill that aspect where we have more change agents, where we have more projects, and where we have an expansion of into Cape Town, into South Africa, or into the world. Because why, as we beautiful, man, we're magic. We are things that the world needs. So yeah, that's what I'm gonna take home today with me.
Thanks, Frank, and just thank you for you. I honor you deeply as the beautiful man you are, the partner in this beautiful project, really good friend, and through a really difficult year, you have been a solid, just a pillar, and I have such deep respect for you. Thank you. Thanks. Who would like to go next?
I'll go.
Okay, Theo.
Yeah, dear. Professionalism, dear. Professionalism, and no excuses. You work, you build what you have. Always eager to help. Teamwork, discipline, consistency, hard work, determination, and yeah, dear, it's yeah, stand firm, dear. As we have mentioned, like a tree, whatever weather that will come along, you know. But one thing, the roots are still firm, you know. Yeah, always have a vision, you know, and with the gift that you have, it's not enough if you don't protect it so that it may grow, it may shine, it may, you know. Yeah. Thank you for having you beautiful souls, you, Karina, Manuela, Franklin, and you've made my day. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Theo. And thank you for your beautiful soul. Consistently showing up. Deep, 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 deep respect. Deep respect. Thank you.
Thank you, dear.
Who would like to go next? Yeah, Manuela?
Me. I would like to say thank you for having me, guys, because honestly, it's just such an honor to be part of your team. I have written some notes as to what was the standout moments for me. And I think I was really moved. Oh, who was it? It was you, Theo, again, where you spoke about how, you had to amputate your feelings and then, I mean, wow, what a strong word. And how Smiling One gave you that consciousness shattering moment, which is just, again, you can't come back from that, which is what the true power of your work, isn't it, Karina? And I'm really moved by how Paulie mentioned, you really teach the world how we can move from punishment to care. And that we can move away from this idea of punishment. And I keep coming back to, your model just absolutely exemplifies that if these incarcerated men can move into education and role modeling, anybody can change. And I think that's truly electrifying. And it's the consciousness shifting, shaking model. I can't wait for the next month of change agents. Thank you, and thank you.
Thank you, Manuela. I really, really appreciate your service on our board and just being the wonderful soul you are yourself, because you don't just have a brilliant mind, but you lead with this most beautiful, gentle heart. And it's very, very special. And you always jump in. Also, when I need a moment, can we chat? Can we strategize? So thank you for that. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Who would like to go next? Yeah, Lucia?
Just to say thank you. It was really wonderful to listen to, so informative and just absolutely refreshing. Just to see the beautiful, incredible, powerful work you're doing. And of course, my mind is exploding, just like everybody needs this. Yeah. And I think that impact of taking one step at a time, changing one person's life at a time, and then building from there is so important. And so, yeah, so of course my mind is just thinking, but how do we get to all the schools in Cape Town? And we need funding and all of the rest. And also, I mean, just prison work for me is just incredibly powerful. It's just a transformative process. And also valuing time. Like you said, change takes time. And we so quickly we want instant change. We want that process to happen so quickly. So actually just valuing that time of real change takes time. And also teaching people that real change takes time. So what an incredible, valuable program. And pray for God's abundant blessings on what you do, because it is really incredible. So thank you for the changes all of you make in what you're doing. I think I need a day just to think about
integration.
about all of this. Yes, thank you.
Thank you so much for choosing to spend your time with us today. And we really, really treasure that, because I know there's a lot competing for time, right? So that you chose to be with us, to experience our world with us. I really, really, really appreciate it. And I have so much respect for that. So thanks, Lucia. And also thank you for joining us on the mountain yesterday. Beautiful. May there be many more mountain trips. And yeah, and also just to hear through somebody who's not used to our world, to just hear how it kind of settles into you. I really appreciate that. Thank you. And may you always, give feedback and share. We so much want to learn. So thank you.
It's a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Lucia. Carl, would you like to share?
Sure. Thanks. Yeah, I'll echo what Lucia said and what everyone else has said. It really was a pleasure to be able to be a part of this, and to hear of all the wonderful work that's going on. I think for me, it's evident what an incredible community you've created within Smiling One, and how powerful community is, to be able to then affect change, which I think Smiling One is doing in an incredibly simple. I love the from desert to oasis model and how it simply kind of communicates that, but in an incredibly deep way. I love how the work that you do is rooted in a sense, in place, but also for people over the long term, and that's the kind of the change that we want to see in development. Is this shift from transactional project-based work, and to more deep rooted long-term change, and so in that regard, I think it was also wonderful to hear the real genuine stories of impact in narrative form. I think that's something that we don't often acknowledge enough and give weight to, in the work that we do. It's, as I said, rooted in traditional development practices of quantifying everything, but it was really nice to hear that. I think Smiling One has also done well, I think, to be part of that change by being a trustworthy organization in terms of its management and governance, etc. I think, yes, continue with your advocacy around not needing to, or not accepting running on fumes. I think it's a mindset that we do need to shift. I think if I can give some advice in that regard, is not to just communicate the impact that you're having, but to kind of communicate the opportunity cost of not doing what you're doing, and to put it into that context. And this, I think, my mind spinning in terms of all the different partnership opportunities that you can consider to kind of scale your work. But that's something maybe we can discuss on top of Lion's Head, Karina.
Yes.
So Yeah, I mean, I'll close off with that and just say thank you very much. It's been a great use of my Saturday.
Thank you so much, Carl. That I really, really appreciate it. And for again, I have such deep respect for, because I know you've been in the trenches, also at Lavender Hill. You're really invested in keep expanding yourself and your mindset and how to work, and community is big, and really understanding what it takes, right, to create movements. So thank you, and thank you for your feedback and for your sharp eye and attention to what are the different nuances in what makes an operation, like an organization work, and also some of the gaps. And we're really curious, because we're so hungry to learn and expand. So thank you for that. And very importantly, for your time today. Thank you.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you.
Paul, my love.
Well, thank you, my love. It's, I think, different than the other years. It's because you've concentrated so much on the fruits of the work at the school. I first want to acknowledge the way that you live your passion in this work, even when you're not actively engaged, that it's a part of your being. And it shows in the way that the work is translated into the world. I think it's not just something you're doing in your spare time, or part-time, shall I say. It lives through you. I think people can read that, and your commitment to how you wanted to translate the 6-year and project and honor the work that you and Franklin have done has really shone through today. I love the granularity of the report. I love, as Carl said, the heart space that was also brought through, how you pulled on all of the threads of the teachers, the personal experience, which I think gets lost in as our society becomes more quantitatively driven in terms of numbers and production. Humanity seems to be losing its connection with each other, with ourselves, and your report was a antidote to that, or an inoculation against that, and a thumping of the fist on the table to say it can't be that way, it shouldn't be that way. And I'll end by saying, again, after having witnessed that ideas that are rebelled against at first become finally ideas that are taken up, and it takes our society a long time to do that. But the concept of regenerative justice rather than punishing justice is so beautifully exampled in the work that you do. And your favorite saying by Khalil Gibran about a tree cannot know that a leaf on its trunk is going yellow, cannot not know that. And the beautiful circle that the work of Smiling One does by bringing men who've tripped up back into society, at not just to speak to adults, but to nip predicaments in the bud by getting to the children. It should be, I think, as Lucia pointed out, it should be in all schools, and particularly in all schools that are in dangerous, emotionally, spiritual, dangerous places for kids. It should be that model. So I'm excited to also feel your your strong no anymore to working on the smell of an oil rag. And I think the universe will respond. The universe will respond kindly to finding out what you are willing to do and what your team is welcome willing to do. So deep bow to you, Franklin, at the rock face. I see you, my brother. You're in your mission, in your purpose. I watch you, Father, the other day when we were in church, and you're a beautiful example of a man of the ages, and that's wonderful to see. And Manzi, I'm so grateful that you're a part of the board as well. I see your wisdom and your deep experience that you bring from the British Association of Anger Management, working alongside Mike. And of course, I think Karina is blessed to have you both, and you're, of course, blessed to have her. So I think this is going to be an exciting year for a whole number of reasons, and I'm grateful to have been here again. Thank you, Mala.
I feel so full with joy and with, just all the impressions, all the voices, the work of the year, all the opportunities, all the seeds that are still to be planted. And I'm just giving thanks to each one of you and for the opportunity to serve at this level. I mean, we do need to be shaken. And certainly, as to Theo's point, we just keep shedding the old so we can really stand firmly as the tree in its purest form for service. And I feel so grateful that you're all here with me and walking this journey with me, because I know I would be nothing without any of you. And I'm so grateful that I've learned that. If I look at Karina 18 years ago, who arrived in South Africa with her rucksack, feeling pretty rudderless, I feel so steadfast, so driven with great purpose, because I know why we do what we do. I know why it matters. And there's absolutely nothing that is more important than that. And I have the most incredible people around me, and I can't wait for us to attract even more beautiful people into this movement where we align into the heart space, because we're all sharing this mission. We're all sharing this vision, because our children's, our youth, the men and women out there are really struggling, and they need our help, and we can help. So thank you for today and for helping me create. Together we created this symphony, this beautiful AGM. Lots of love and lots of blessings, and looking forward to the journey ahead. Thank you. May you all have a blessed Saturday and weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you, Karina.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you.